There's a new bill in the Ohio House named the Right to Know Act.
Tim, Kaylee, the act is all about requiring hospitals to offer genetic testing at birth to verify paternity, as well as reduce any errors that could possibly happen in hospitals.
Taxes. And I care about where my money goes. I'm not here to pay for so-and-so because there's a confusion about who's the father. That's not my business. Handle your personal shit. And for me, I want to fund schools. I want to fund the MTA because the trains are never on time. We got bigger problems. I'm sorry, I'm not paying for no mandatory test. I don't think there's any issue with a man taking care of another man's child. Women do it all the time, whether you know or not.
Mandatory DNA testing at birth. Ever since I started this platform, you guys already know I've been a major advocate of this legislation. Apparently, some bills are being stood up to enact just that. Let's get active.
Breaking news, guys. You will now be forced to take a DNA test after your baby is born now, because a lot of confusion has been going on during the years. So now they are making it to you have to take a DNA test as soon as the baby is born with the dude that you claim to be the dad. The dad cannot sign that birth certificate until the DNA results come back that the child is his. I feel like this is a very good thing nowadays, because sometimes the mom might be confused, don't know who the baby daddy is, and point it.
Confused is crazy way to describe that.
To the person that she thinks the baby daddy is for some reason, and it's not fair to the dad that's not the baby daddy, that still be taking care of a baby that's not his. So lawfully, I feel like this is a very great decision. I don't feel like anybody should be mad about this decision. Your baby needs to get that mouth swabbed, and that man do too. He needs to make sure that baby is his before he be signing any type of papers. Don't be mad at me, be mad at the source. So yeah, that's how. And another thing is, if you have a man that you claim the dad is, and it's not the dad, he can sue you now.
Okay. To have a screaming baby in the background of this video is just too perfect. But I absolutely agree with her. I don't understand how men are signing their name on the dotted line if this was your homegirl and she ended up pregnant. Y'all were dating. She ended up pregnant. And now without proof, your name is on the birth certificate, which means that if she files for child support, it's coming to you. My family has been a victim of paternity fraud. I actually didn't meet my biological sister till I was in college. Nevertheless, I can't just trust a TikToker regarding information. Let's go to the news report.
There's a new bill in the Ohio House named the Right to Know Act, sponsored by State Representative Josh Williams.
Laura Sandlin joins us from the studio this morning. So, Laura, what should people know about this?
Tim, Kaylee, the act is all about requiring hospitals to offer genetic testing at birth to verify paternity, as well as reduce any errors that could possibly happen in hospitals. According to sponsor Josh Williams, the testing is optional, and it would require the consent of both involved parties. Parents can decline. However, both parents would need to acknowledge that they were informed of the availability.
Okay.
Additionally, he says the act is also meant to reduce any risk for baby swaps or identification error. However, the act is mainly targeted at unmarried couples in the state in order to help reduce any legal or financial burdens related to establishing paternity through court, as well as any possible legal disputes later. The act is a part of Williams' Family First agenda, focused on supporting families, and he says the right to know is all about strengthening family units, reducing court cases, as well as creating accessibility for biological parents.
We require our hospitals, which we give a ton of state money to make this available to the parents. And parents have the right to say no thank you, or engage in the practice and see and establish paternity to the child. I think it's very important that we get these things established very early on, because the last thing we want is someone raising a child for 5, 6, 7 years believing it's theirs.
The act still needs to be approved by the Ohio Senate, as well as reported by the committee, as well as being passed by the House before it would be sent to the governor. And right now, they're waiting on a fiscal analysis to determine the cost, as well as if state funding will be needed. Reporting live in studio, Laura Sandlin, WTOL 11.
W's down up into the chat for the young brother who was attempting to get this bill passed in Ohio, Rep. Josh Williams. I don't know if he's aligned more on the left or the right. I don't care. I know that I like this, though. For the life of me, I can't understand why women would be against this, but I found some TikToks we're going to go over, trust me, of women actively complaining that this may be a reality, but it's awesome to think that someone is standing up for what is a clear injustice in society today. Now, this is a proposed law, so it hasn't passed yet, but what I find interesting is that the hospitals would be required to let them know that they could get a paternity test, but it requires signatures from both parents. Personally, I think it should only be one parent required in order to request it, but you gotta crawl before you walk, right? It's funny how it's my body, my choice, even when the father wants DNA proof that he's the pappy before signing his name on the birth certificate. Women that choose men that are either A, their relationship option, right? Or B, the man is in a better financial position, meaning higher child support payments. That is just straight up fraud. But anyway, the internet is ablaze with seething 304 anger, right? Because that's the only type of woman that would not want this type of accountability, right? Those of them that like to have sex with multiple men within a given week. Nevertheless, let's go over this one nurse's story of this playing out.
Here's why DNA tests should be mandatory after you give birth. I work at a healthcare facility and I had a mom bring in her paperwork for her child's birth certificate, right? I go through it and I let her know that she left the father's name blank, and just to avoid any surprises, I let her know when she gets the birth certificate, obviously the father's section is going to be blank. It's only going to be her name on the birth certificate. She then is like, oh, well, can I still get child support? I let her, I told her no, because there's no name there and whatnot. And, and I let her know what she would need to do after the fact. She then tells me to give her a minute. She sits down and calls her group of friends, and they go through a list of like 4 or 5 different men on some pros and cons type shit to figure out who of these men would be the best option to be the father.
Oh.
I guess they couldn't come to a decision or whatever. She comes back to me. She's like, oh, well, can you just put my birth certificate to the side and I'll do it once I decide. Ma'am, this isn't layaway. What?
Deciding who to put in position like y'all put y'all fantasy draft picks in position. Absolutely disgusting and unsavory work. But shout out to her. There's women like her that agree that they should be mandatory at birth. But of course, there's hyenas out there that don't think so.
DNA testing at birth.
Mandatory
DNA testing at birth. I don't agree with that.
Check that baby. No. Like what? Check that baby. I don't care what nobody say. Check that baby. You never know. You never know.
But what I feel like DNA testing at birth to me is like, no matter how you spin it, no matter how you try to dress it up, you are telling your wife, I think you've been cheating on me.
Women with sleeve tattoos down 10,000 points. Aura eliminated. Speaking of aura, quick emergency meeting. I was recently searching for my name online and found way too much personal information, which brought me down this weird rabbit hole of how that could have happened, and found out that there's companies out there called data brokers that will sell your data to marketers, scammers, and even stalkers. And it's a nasty, disgusting feeling knowing that there's bad actors out there selling my information, selling your information for profit. But that's why I'm recommending today's sponsor, Aura. Now, I use Aura to automatically remove my information from these sites and keep my information off. But they do other things as well, such as bank fraud and identity theft alerts, VPN access. But guys, utilize my link down in the description box down below for a 14-day trial. At least see if you've been compromised. Privacy is king in this day and age, and you should know if your information is out there. So again, utilize my link, aura.com/MTR, in the description box down below to try 2 weeks free. That's way more than enough time to see if your personal data has been exposed. Go now.
And there are examples where guys raise kids that aren't theirs. Like, it's like, I can understand if it's never happened or if it's not a thing, but that's a thing that happens. People take breaks, raise kids. What was that one story about the dude that like raised the kid like after they took a break and then found out that the kid wasn't his? It happened while they were on a break, and you know what I mean? Like, that's,
okay, during a break, I feel like I can understand that justification, but it's like, we've been together, we've been rocking together, it's been 8 years, no break, been solid, you ain't never thought I cheated on you once. if I have a baby, I carried this baby for 9 months. I just pushed out a 8-pound human.
That could not be mine. You pushed out an 8-pound human.
Listen, I pushed out an 8-pound human in that delivery room, and your first question out your freaking mouth is, I want a DNA test.
Okay, I had to listen to the drivel for a little bit more. Yeah, it's all based up on
if
feelings.
I have a
and
baby,
I find it so interesting that these are the women that complain that men are not empathetic, but they often don't put themselves in a man's shoes of how something can negatively impact them.
I think that the United States making DNA testing mandatory is stupid. I don't think that, it's something that if you feel like you need a DNA test, go do that on your own time because you feel that way. I don't think every person, there's millions of people in the United States. Like, it doesn't make sense that people could be using that time to do other things. Like, you could be saving a life. You could be in a hospital saving a life. I personally
Yeah, so bump the dude wasting his time raising a child that's not his, financially obligated to a child that's not his. That little cheek squab, you could be saving a life. But don't you swab that little baby's cheek and the father's cheek just to check. Don't you dare do that. You could be saving another life. Absolutely insane. The hamster wheel that their brain is traveling on in order to get to this conclusion. Hey, man, you get the epidural, which is way more invasive than a cheek swab. That's offered to you at the hospitals. Why can't they offer a cheek swab after the child is born? Because there's lives to save. Like the genjutsu that they'll try to manipulate you to put you into is just,
taxes. And I care about where my money goes. I'm not here to pay for so-and-so because there's a confusion about who's the father. That's not my business. Handle your personal shit. And for me, I want to fund schools. I want to fund the MTA because the trains are never on time. We got bigger problems. We have bigger problems. I'm sorry. I'm not paying for no mandatory test.
You are not lying. I'm the father of that baby, boss. Boss, I'm that baby's daddy. I'm the pappy.
I don't think there's any issue with a man taking care of another man's child. Women do it all the time, whether you know or not. He might bring another child and say, oh, I had this out of our wedlock, what are we gonna do? Or he's taking your money and paying child support to another family. You had no idea. So when we're just like jumping like, oh, I'm not gonna do this, I'm not gonna do that, hold on, it's already being done.
You could have been doing so many other things with your life. You could have been figuring your life out, I don't know, feeding pigeons, I don't know, doing anything. But you raising a kid that is not yours. I mean, if you had the option to know that was your kid and you wanted to raise that kid, that's perfectly fine. A lot of people do that. But when you don't know, you're doing it out of the obligation or the mindset that this is my child, I'm gonna raise him or her, I'm gonna raise them up, I love them, this is my DNA, this is my blood. And then come to find out that's not your kid.
Imagine trying to have a knowledgeable dinner time conversation with a woman that acts like this, and there's nowhere to go within this conversation because she doesn't care about you. These are the perpetually unaccountable, and they're Super Saiyan deflectors. You can even show them scientific studies. This I pulled from PubMed. They did a study on 300,000 paternity tests performed within the United States. Now, mind you, this is of people that questioned paternity. Within that, they concluded that in 72% of cases, the father was correctly assigned. So within 30% of these cases, the wrong paternity was attempted to be signed. To say that you are okay within cases where there's a question of paternity, that a man is just going to raise the child no matter what, is just pure evil.
I had two guys call in. They work at DNA testing centers. One guy had to quit. One guy still works there. He told me 40% of the children are not the man's child. 40%. He said 40%.
Somebody cool,
and
Maury.
It's usually
make DNA testing
it's
mandatory.
It's two scenarios. It's where the woman, the person's getting a DNA test because the woman claims that is their child. Turns out it's not. The other one is where the parent is on the deathbed and makes a confession, or they need a liver transplant, blood transfusion, and the blood type. There's no way that can actually be the father. So then they find out because of medical reasons. You mean that's not my father? Then the father finds out from that way. He said it took such a toll on him that that he could no longer do it because he would be sitting on the phone counseling the men and the grown children who these women falsely accuse. We see it on Moore, we see it on paternity court, but yet we say men need to be held accountable.
Shout out to Melanie. And I can't believe that this conversation, I think it was over 3 years ago at this point. And it's funny because since this conversation, I've had the opportunity to do content with Maury. And this is what I asked him, is to say, you know, how is the accountability mostly on the dudes when the women are in control of access to their body with 30 plus forms of birth control? And it seems as though the media was okay with painting the men as the enemy. Oftentimes that they would boo the man when they came out, even when it was the woman getting the 10th DNA test. 10 men? Ew. But great point brought up by Melanie. I said 30% into that study. She said 40%. Regardless, the numbers are just way too high.
Mandatory DNA testing before signing a birth certificate.
You're motherfucking right.
Yeah.
Put that on God record, bitch. Because my thing is, it could save so many families, children, and BDs a whole heap of heartache.
Yep.
Because it makes no sense, and it is also not medically sound to just leave it in the hands of the good Lord on who the real baby daddy is. No, baby, we need it in blood. Huh?
Yep.
Which is crazy to think about because DNA testing has only been around for like, 60 years. So before that, it would be in the hands of the good Lord. You know what I'm saying? But shout out to technological advances because now you could be accurate, right? You don't got to get lied to throughout the life. But she brings up such a good point. I'll tell you guys something. You know how much did it mess my father up when he found out that he had a child that's older than me? It messed him up. It messed him up. He wishes that he knew beforehand. But he was robbed of that opportunity. And I know that he wished that. I watched him take care of me. All he wanted was to create a family. He came from a tortured past, a tortured home. And so he wanted to create a household, one of which that he wasn't brought up in. His mother was murdered when he was 5 years old while he was outside of the door. So he wanted to create that, and he did that with me. But he was robbed of that earlier in his life because the woman made a decision. Oh!
Lord, go give me your saliva, swab that, and let us know real motherfucking quick. Because if you've been f***ing who you say you've been f***ing and you f***ing him only, it shouldn't be no motherfucking problem.
It shouldn't be no problem.
Because anytime I had a kid, baby, nobody ever asked me for a DNA test, but if they did, here's the baby.
Yeah,
okay?
Here's the baby.
Yeah.
Take it.
Why would it bother you?
Because there ain't no shame in my motherfucking game. If I don't went to the point where I'm putting myself in the position to possibly get pregnant by a man, it's because I'm f***ing him and only him, and we've been in a locked in monogamous.
Off the gas.
I got it. Okay. Monogamous relationship.
Yep.
Baby, I'm not over here just getting knocked up by Tom, Dick, and Jerry.
Okay. Because I feel like if you got to sign up for 18 years, you need a goddamn receipt.
Okay. Because you know if you sign that birth certificate and that ain't your baby,
you still
got to ante up.
You're still f***ing liable. So there was actually a case where a man he was in a relationship with this woman. They had the baby. Baby turned out not to be his. He signed the birth certificate. They held him liable. They held him liable and responsible for this baby. He even went and got another DNA test to prove it wasn't his baby. They still held him liable for child support.
All right. I think I said everything I needed to say with this one. Point gotten across. Guys, let me know what you think down in the comment box down below. Do you think that this bill within Ohio was going to pass? I think that there's another state as well. I have to do additional research to see what other places are currently considering this. I think if anything, it's progress, right? Even if it doesn't pass, within Ohio, eventually I think that it will. I think it should be a federal mandate, but I can see how they would want to pass this in the hands of the states, specifically when you think about the incentivization of each state from a revenue perspective, right? Because the state is going to make more money charging child support from somebody that makes more money, right? So in a sense, the state may be de-incentivized to actively check, right? And what I always say, if something don't make sense, you want to understand how something works, just follow the money. and you're going to find your answer. All right, guys. Shout out to Aura again for sponsoring this video. You guys like how I threw that Aura right up in there? Well, I appreciate you guys clicking that link down below, signing up for Aura to check if your private information is exposed. At least utilize that 14-day free offer by clicking on my link. But yeah, it really helps the channel. So I appreciate you guys for continuing to rock with me. If you find out any additional information in regards to this, feel free to be able to send it over to me. All right. And we're going to break it down. We're going to go through it. All right. Until next time, you two. Peace.
So without further ado, MTR, cut through the BS like we in charge. No cap with the rappers like steel bars. I'm packing and rapping like here we are. Here we are. Mediocre tutorial reviews. Like, comment, share my views. Come up and I paid my dues. Big step in my black way shoes. MTR, he break it down, yeah, it's MTR. Check out the sound when it's MTR. No one put it down like it's MTR.